Members, the ayes are 69, the noes are 51. The schedule 2 as amended will stand part. The question now is that clauses 1 to 3 stand part.
Mr. Speaker.
I call the Honourable Member, the Reverend Dr. David Clark.
Mr. Chair, thank you. I'm grateful for an opportunity to speak to these introductory clauses. The title of the bill is something that I think could do with amendment. Certainly in the form that we have just passed it as a House, it reflects poorly the actual nature of the bill. It suggests that it is a child support amendment bill, which would be implying, or could be taken to imply, that it is aimed at supporting children, when, as we've canvassed in the debate at some length and in some detail, we have noted that in fact it is likely to be, if anything, less supportive of children than the existing formula, and it has a number of other burdens as well. I have a number of competing titles to offer, and I shall leave it till the end to tell you which is my preferred title, Mr. Chair. But first I wish to talk about the Missed Opportunity for Vulnerable Children Bill, because that in some ways quite accurately describes what we have in front of us. We had an opportunity in this select committee to amend the bill that Labor supported to select committee so that it could be amended for the benefit of children, so that we could actually put children at the heart of this legislation, so that their well-being and their development could be the thing that we were focused on in passing this legislation, in line with the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child that we have signed up to in respect of looking out for the interests of vulnerable children. Now, Mr. Chair, we saw in the Select Committee that attempt was defeated in 2 separate votes to bring this into the core of the legislation, to bring it in a way that didn't encourage litigation, but that was actually being very clear that the priority here was children. So I suggest then that a Missed Opportunity for Vulnerable Children bill would be a more apt description than a Child Support Amendment bill. The Child Support Amendment bill title, I guess, is technically aimed at telling you we're amending the current child support arrangements. That much is strictly true, but it's a little misleading because of the word support and children being brought in there, when in fact what we're doing here is undermining the system that we've got. We're making it less transparent, which takes me to my next suggested title, which would be the Child Support Transparency Removal Bill, because this has got a new and more opaque formula. This bill. This is what we're introducing here in this bill, is a new and more opaque formula that makes it more difficult for those with children, liable parents and primary caregiving parents to calculate how their future arrangements will pan out. We know that the current formula is very simple. Families can work out what their future liabilities are going to be, they can plan towards them, and now we have a bill that is far more difficult to understand in terms of the formula calculation, and we have been told by officials that they will need to upskill so that they can also brief parents on the likely obligations and responsibilities they will have. And that will be an ongoing task, certainly with the turnover in the IRD in recent times, because that is a department under stress, as we know, running a 20-year-old computer system to collect our taxes with a dropping revenue base. We know that that department will continue to have high turnover. It will continue to need to train its own people, to train the users of this formula, and therefore it's a step back in terms of giving parents the transparency to plan for future liabilities. And so that's why it should be a removal of transparency bill. That is one thing that is very clear here with this new opaque formula that's being introduced. Another possible title for consideration, Mr. Chair, is the Child Support Further Disadvantaging Women bill, because this bill very clearly puts more burden onto the primary caregiver, the majority of whom we know are women. And we have seen the data for this in the Select Committee that makes it very clear that an increased burden will fall on women who are the primary caregivers, who usually are the most vulnerable in these situations. I generalise a little, but I think it's fair to say, from those who come through the electorate door, those that we see as constituency MPs, that women are often particularly vulnerable in these situations, and particularly where poverty and stress is involved. This further makes those women more vulnerable, and so therefore we could have a title around the further disadvantage that this bill will generate for women. And another title, Mr Chair, that leaps out from this bill is the Child Support Increasing Bureaucracy, Cost and Business Red Tape Bill. The increasing bureaucracy cost, Mr Chair.
Call the honourable member, David Clark.
The increasing bureaucracy cost and red tape for business bill, because, Mr Chair, this bill does increase all of those things. And we've learnt, as we've had the debate, as we did in Select Committee, that not all of these things have been consulted upon. And this is typical. I think I made the point earlier in the debate that with the paperboy tax and the various other tax grabs that this government's done to try and fill the revenue hole that it created with the 2010 tax cuts that went to the wealthiest New Zealanders. I remind anyone that's watching at home that 44% of the value of the tax cuts in 2010 went to the wealthiest 10% of New Zealanders, while just 2% of the value of those tax cuts in 2010 went to the 20% who are the poorest in New Zealand. Those were unjust tax cuts. The story we were told was that they would stimulate economic growth. Well, we know now we've got a government here that's got the worst economic growth record of any government in the last 50 years. And that government has not stimulated the economy with those tax cuts. So it's got a revenue hole that it's been trying to fill with tax grabs, and at the same time as it's been going about those tax grabs, it's been increasing red tape. It's been increasing red tape. And that red tape on business is just collateral damage as far as the national government's concerned. As long as they talk business, they're not really concerned what happens to small business. Talk to small business owners around New Zealand and you'll see that they are hurting right now. So I'll come back to the title very clearly, Mr Chair, which is that this all lends itself to an increasing cost, increasing bureaucracy and more business red tape bill, because precisely that is what is generated by this new, more complex formula, Mr Chair. You'll see I was making a point quite relevant to the title debate. So if we weigh up all of those options, Mr Chair, whether it's the Missed Opportunity for Vulnerable Children bill, whether it's the Women Further Disadvantaged Child Support Amendment bill, whether it's the new Less Transparent Formula bill and Difficulty for Planning bill, or whether it's the Increased Cost, Bureaucracy and Business Red Tape bill, we think all of those things, or I think all of those things, perhaps more accurately reflect the nature of the bill than child support. So I contest that those are better titles for the House's consideration, but overall want to stress that, in my opinion, perhaps the best and most accurate title is the first of those I've suggested, which is the Missed Opportunity for Vulnerable Children bill.
Mr Chair.
Call the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. We're here to debate